Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is another checkup. I just want to make this weekly or something like that because there's so much thoughts going through my head and so much things happening that it's kind of hard to remember the past. So yeah, so I've been growing my podcast a lot more, and I've had a guest reach out. I really want to interview him. It's gonna help so much with just everything. He's such a cool person to interview, so I'm really excited for that. And I have so much more other people, so much more people lined up, and I'm getting interviewed tomorrow. In fact, which is kind of annoying actually, because I need to reschedule some things because I didn't schedule my things properly. So I accidentally ended up booking 3 podcasts on a very similar time frame, which is not ideal, and 2 of them on the exact same time, which is, you know, which is a big mistake I made, and it's annoying to have the people change their time schedule, but this happens not often. But yeah, that's life. Just gotta keep going with it. But yeah, this was I'm interviewing this one guy, and he's a producer for this big company, and he's letting me use his studio, and they don't use it on the weekends. So my hope is that I can make it so that they can let me use it on the weekends, and use it for the other interviews, because that would just elevate my podcast quality. Because I really want to make the video quality amazing. And I'm trying to focus on the content. The content is most important, but the video quality will help bring in more people who might be less accepting. I'm a 17-year-old. I like to show quality in the videos I create, and I think that may help bring in more people and people I want to interview. And so that is just fucking like amazing. And I know a lot of people in Japan and Australia, and I really want to go to Hong Kong. I want to meet some of the people kind of popping off. Daniel Down, one of my inspirations. Love how he does his videos. He's in Hong Kong. There's some other agencies I love in Hong Kong. And yeah, I just want to go to those places, and things are kind of going forward with that probably happening. San Francisco was my goal. There's some issues with that, but if the legalities around whatever happens, I'm just going to travel somewhere and interview really cool people in that specific country or whatever. So I'm very excited, like so excited for that, beyond imagination. I'm kind of at this issue. This sometimes happens. I get too excited that I'm paralyzed, and there's this fear, because it's like I don't want to mess this up, but in the end, I've made so many mistakes, and every time you still live on life, and it's not major critical mistakes, and you're bound to make mistakes, and the best thing you can do is learn from it and prepare the best. And I've tried to do that more. I've not to the best. Sometimes I don't I use music to distract myself. I was just listening to the same music on repeat. I was so excited, and it's so hard to my body keeps just jittering around. But yeah, so having mentors in place, that helps a lot. I'm really grateful that I've spent the last year meeting a lot of people and having some people as great mentors, so I can ask specific advice from based on their own industry and experience, which is so helpful, because it's not just a mentor. You want a mentor for your specific issues. At least that's what I heard from Alex Ramosi, and it made a lot of sense, and it's been giving me a lot of clarity, because there's so many people who give you so many advice, but most of their advice are not that meaningful, because they don't want to be like them. And even if you don't want to be like someone exactly, which is very rare, you want to be exactly like someone. If they're experienced and if they're an expert in this industry, you should listen to it. And it's not just the fact what they tell you. Alex Ramosi, he mentioned, I don't want to quote him so much, but a really great guy, and he mentioned that it's not just the fact what he's saying, it's the fact that now you don't have as much resistance to doing things, because when other people give very different ideas and they tell you things, you're kind of like, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right. There's this hesitancy, and logically you try to break it down into little arguments, and you try to make counter or whatever it may be, right? But if an expert gives you, there's less. It's like, oh, this person made it, so it's very logically conducive that this way tells is much more likely than any other advice to my goal. So I find that tremendously helpful, and that's what Harry Stebbings at 20VC also did, and it's been helping him successful. And I think he said he invested in multiple unicorns, so his investments are going very good, apparently, seemingly. So I guess that also helps. He's had mentors for very specific industries. And recently I was listening to My First Million, and he also interviewed someone. I think he co-founded 4 unicorn companies or whatever, and he was asked what his secret was, what is his unique advantage. The unique advantage was that he succeeded first time but using that, he has built a large network of very intelligent people in all industries and sectors, and he has private conversations with them, and then tries to discuss 20 different ideas, and they kind of help him over everything, and they help him find talent. Like, he just built these large network of highly of like great people with very specific knowledge, who can help him build businesses, which is so important. So yeah, that's been kind of the thing. And one thing I was realizing is, I think, because I see examples of other people who I can be, and I kind of feel more centered around my goal. I want to build this podcast. I want to build this media. I love meeting these people who seem so, like, when you see this, it's like, this is a video, it's all pixels, they don't seem real. You see millions of people, and millions of people are just so, it's just impossible to even comprehend. And money over like $10 million is just impossible for most people to comprehend, and how much can change a person's lives. So I think meeting them, it just gives me such, it's a weird shock, and then they have very weird stories, and they come from different places. One of the person I interviewed, he lived in Angola for a little bit, grew up in Norway, and then grew up in San Francisco, and then went to China. And then that's such a unique story, like Angola at the start, or other people who grew up as a Dutch person in Hong Kong, and like all these stories, it kind of tells you that the world is not just this binary thing, which it's so often it seems like it's like there's this one course of life, or there's this one way of how most things work, or how the political order works, where it's only these two countries. But it seems a lot more complicated than that. There's more nuance, which I find really fun and interesting to explore. And I'm, at least the people I've interviewed, some of them have listened to my podcast, and I've had other people who are founders who I like, that listen. So that gives me a lot of courage that I can keep going this forward, and that in some shape or form, that this is going towards the right path. And Simon Squibb as well, from Help Bank, he sold a marketing agency for, I think, he never tells the number, but 10 million, or probably 100 million, or 500 million. He says the money where he never has to worry about money again. But he started a podcast actually at the start, and the equipment with a lot of networks, so which helped him so much more in his later life with everything. So I think that's also helpful. And yeah, just trying to focus on growing it. And school's been quite tough. I find it so hard to focus at this moment. There's some AP exams rolling at the moment, but it's just like, I don't know, like I want to keep growing. There's summer break to do that, and I'm lowering my course load. I'm trying to minimize everything so I can focus on this. And when I apply to universities, I hope that I can kind of show that this is inherent. And maybe if they don't agree, then maybe if they don't agree with that, I lowered my grades a little bit, with the intent of trying to grow this thing into what I want and my goal, that they would see it and they would accept it, and the universities I want to go into or attend for a little bit, or whatever it may be, that those people would understand. And if they don't, then I don't need to. I wouldn't have wanted to go in the first place. So that's like my thought process. And yeah, I just keep reminding myself. It's like, I think Simon Squibb said this, and I mentioned this in another video. It's the risk-taking ability. That's the difference for a lot of founders and a lot of people who succeed. And this is not just in like a financial standpoint. It's in like all aspects of life. It seems like there's hard work and discipline, very critical. And there's the willingness to take risk and willingness to change. Not necessarily just risk. There's the willingness to change, which is so difficult. I don't know why it's having bubbles, but the willingness to change is, because when you're starting a business, there's this hesitancy to do anything, hesitancy to put out proper systems, talk with your co-founders about things you don't really want to talk about, equity sharing, talking about what you're going to do, and then if they don't do it, you have to be upfront about it. You have to manage those relations, which is so difficult. Or when you're reaching out to people, you maybe only reach out to 10 people when you could have reached out to 100, but you don't want to get rejected, and you're probably going to get rejected 99% of the time. Or if it's with physical health or whatever, you don't want to be at the start, you don't want to, you're unhealthy, you don't look that good, so you don't want to come up and be shown. You think people are going to judge you, which is such a common stereotype. It never happens. It's never, maybe one person will have a negative effect, but most people are not like that. And you have actually a lot, the judgment you have of the consequences of that risk is just not accurate at all. I was hosting events and one time like literally no one came, so I brought the guests. I mean, we had like 5 people, which is a lot less than I was hoping for. Usually 20 to 30 is the goal. So that, I was so scared of that happening. When it did happen, nothing really bad happened out of it. It's just life. I just continue going on. And there's so many other parts of my life where if I took more risks, more things would happen. And that's something I've been really in my head, that the reason why you're not doing this, you're making up excuses. You make logical statements trying to not make you do it, but these are just excuses. Go take that risk and you'll learn from that. You don't have enough experience and judgment to base it off of, and you have mentors who will guide you. Most mentors of mine tell you, just do it, just do that, take that risk. Although make sure you're consistent in one thing and focus on one thing for a long time, because it's also a very important skill to have. So yeah, that's not day, but that's my update. And I might record a little bit more like vlog. I want to keep it super low maintenance, and I hope this can help anyone who's listening, who's just like me, or who's younger, or maybe later down the road when I'm like 40 and billionaire, and I don't know what I will do, but I hope this can be an inspiration that I'm just like you. There's nothing different. I just sit and you're in this chair with that pillow. I don't sleep here, but just live life and just work, go outside, drink coffee, meet people. And yeah, this is just, I'm just like a normal person. Maybe I'm not, but this is my update. I hope it helps.